Welcome back. We're continuing with our outline. We're up to Module 11, Investing in Investment Companies. Get into a lot of really important concepts here. So we're on page 19, about a third of the way down. And again, you'll see a lot of questions along these. If you do see a math question, it will probably be here. But just like we talked about in the past, it's not a math test. And so therefore, always look to see if you can estimate. Or some easy way. That's the best way to approach any question that even has a taste of math in it. Is just get in the ballpark, and probably there's going to be only one answer choice that's in that same ballpark. So anyway, don't let it stress you. Like I say, I've had many more reports, 0 math questions, than I have, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe the math. So if math stresses you, throw that stress away. You've got enough as it is. All right, so anyway, let's look at pricing, buying, and redeeming or cashing in mutual fund shares, because remember, they're non-negotiable. We are talking about mutual funds, and we said earlier that that sometimes folks will say a closed-end mutual fund. That's just all wrong. There's no such thing. That's like saying that they have a white car. It's either a black car or it's a white car. You cannot have a white car. Okay? But it's two-tone, then it's two-tone, all right? But you cannot have closed-end mutual funds. They just don't exist. All right, so if we talk mutual funds, we're talking open-end. And open-end funds are priced typically one time per day. There are some mutual funds that price themselves 2 or 3 times a day. Don't worry about them in the testing center. If that's something that's important to you, look them up once you get your license. But it's of no importance in the testing center. So what you want to do is just to assume that they're going to be priced once a day at the close of business. Makes sense. Let all the dust settle, okay, and that way you don't have any moving targets. All right. Well, so forward pricing is a very important term. All mutual fund transactions are priced at the NAV next calculated. NAV next calculated is the terminology that they use. And so basically here's what I've got, okay? If I've got Monday and Tuesday, and I'm going to draw a little space in here, okay? Because that's Monday night, all right? If my customer tells me to buy right there, or to sell right there, another one says buy right there, sell right there, then at the close of business on Monday, they're going to calculate the NAV. And all of these trades are going to be based on the NAV next calculated, which will be this one right here. So they're all going to have a price that's based on the same price. Now, my buyers are going to have to pay a sales charge. So their actual dollar amount is going to be higher, but it's based on the same net asset value. That starting point is the NAV. My sellers are going to get the NAV. There's not a sales charge associated with it. So it's not only the starting point, but it's the ending point. But nevertheless, it's the NAV next calculated. And then the same thing over here on Tuesday, okay, But the thing is, if somebody calls me up after the market closes right here, so it's, the market closes at 4 Eastern time, and so that's the close of business. If they call me up at 4:10 Eastern time, figure out your own time zone, okay? But if they call me up there and say, look, I want you to buy/sell, they're too late for this NAV because it's already been calculated. It was calculated at 4:00 Eastern time. What they'll have to do is to wait all night long and then all day Tuesday, and then at the close of business on Tuesday, that will be the next NAV, or NAV next calculated. Okay? So like I say, always the NAV next calculated. The maximum sales charge is 8.5% of the public offering price. Sales charges are always calculated as a percentage of the public offering price. Okay? That's very important to keep in mind. And to charge the maximum, a fund must offer breakpoints, the breakpoints are simply reduced sales charges for quantity purchases. When we were talking about A, B, and C shares, that's why we said that large dollar transactions, you go with the A shares because you'll get a breakpoint for your customer, and that's very important. Okay? Then the schedule is specified in the prospectus, and investment clubs are not entitled to breakpoints. There are no back doors to get around the rules in this whole industry. Okay? The only reason you would join an investment club is to see how investments work. Why would you join a club to see how investments work and then hire an asset manager to do that work and to do that analysis for you? Well, you wouldn't. Unless what you were trying to do is to say, I can't quite afford a breakpoint myself, and I see that you can't afford a breakpoint on your own, and neither can you or you. But if we all formed an investment club and bought this mutual fund, why, we could cheat the mutual fund company by getting a breakpoint. No backdoors. Okay? You got to take things straight up. So investment clubs are not entitled to breakpoints. And to charge that maximum, the fund must also offer rights of accumulation. Now, rights of accumulation, the way that those work is, it just as I accumulate, I get the right to a break point in the sales charge. Now, let's go ahead and kind of draw this out, okay? Because the thing about a right of accumulation is that there are several terms that we kind of associate with. One of them is the whole thing. Okay? No time limit is another one. Okay? And then we'll also need to look at the valuation method. So here's what we're talking about, okay? Way back when, Uncle Fred put $1,000 into this mutual fund for me. And then for my birthday and for Christmas and for holidays and whatever, he would add a little bit more. And of course it did well over time because it was a good choice. And so it grew and it grew. And then I got a summer job when I was a teenager, okay? And I threw some stuff in there myself. And now here I am, fortunately I got some scholarships. I didn't need to use it for college, but I did have a job in college. So I'd throw some money in there again, okay? And this thing it's just grown and grown. And now all of a sudden here we are at a large round number. Okay? Let's say $50,000. If you see a large round number on a mutual fund question, there's a break point there. Okay? And so, oops, I drew it a little bit too high. There we go. So now here's the deal. I get a break point at $50,000. Okay? My current value with all those purchases, and by the way, that's been 22 years. I started out in an UGMA account, but then it reverted to me when I attained majority. All right. But anyway, now I've got $49,400, and I just got a little bonus of $1,000. And I say, you know what? I could blow it, but gosh, that was such a good idea that Fred had way back when, because we haven't put that much money into it. I'm going to put it into that fund. Here's what's going to happen. It's going to take it from here to here. And it's going to push it over that break point. So the first term that we have is no time limit. Okay? It took me 22 years to get there. That's cool. No big deal. The second thing is the whole thing. It's not just the $400 that goes over the break point that gets the break point. It's the whole $1,000 that gets the break point. And the third thing is, where did we count from? We use a valuation method that takes the higher of what we've put in or what it's worth today. Over all those 22 years, both Fred and I combined just put in $15,200. That doesn't matter. It's worth $49,400 today. That's where we start counting. And that's rights of accumulation. Okay? So in order to charge that maximum 8.5% sales charge, you have to both offer breakpoints and rights of accumulation. Now another thing that's very, very helpful is a letter of intent. Okay? A letter of intent. So your customer comes in and you think that you've asked all the questions that you can possibly ask. Okay? They've got a $5,000 check. They want XYZ fund. So, okay, great. So you put it into that fund. And then the next month, about the same time of the month, they come in with another $5,000 check. And you say, well, didn't you had one of these last month? I say, yeah. Is this going to be a regular thing with you? I say, well, I don't know. The guy's thinking to himself, my Uncle Fred taught me to play my cards close to my vest. Maybe I better not just let anything out of it. I really don't know. Don't know. It could be, but I'm not really sure. Okay, because if it's going to be a regular thing, I can save you some money. Well, I just, your customer said. But then, what happens? Next month, comes back in. You say, I'm starting to see a pattern here. Okay? Is this something you're going to be doing? He says, well, yeah, I really didn't want to tell you about it, but when my Uncle Fred was alive, he set up a trust for me, and I'm going to get $5,000 a month out of the trust, and I really don't need it. I mean, I've got a great job, and so I thought, I'd just put it into this thing. Well, now, hang on a minute, okay? Because 5,000 times 12 months, in fact, I'm going to go 13 months, equals 65,000. You know what? That's above a large round number. And by the way, a lot of the funds now with lower sales charges will break at like 100,000, something like that. But yeah, just check the prospectus to see what the details are. That's real world. We were operating in test world, okay? So anyway, guys, you're going to be well over that. It says, do you think that you're going to have 10 of those months, including the ones we already have? He says, do you think you can get, you're going to devote it to that? Oh yeah, sure, no problem at all. It says, great, let's save you some money. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have you sign a letter of intent. Oh, is this a contract? Am I signing my life away? No, you're really not. What it is, it's a letter not of obligation, it's a letter of intent. You're saying, I intend to put in up over the break point. And you know what? I've got 13 months to do it. Well, yeah, he says, that even gives me a couple that if I need some money, I can take it out, use it, I can do that. So, well, great. So what we'll do is we'll do it. And I says, what about that last one? In fact, the last two, because I think this is my third one you're bringing in. Yeah, it's the third one you're bringing in. He says, what about those first two? Am I just out to dry on those? I said, no, there's no problem at all. What we're going to do is we're going to backdate that. You can backdate it up to 90 days. See, we just had 60 days pass. We've still 30 days to the good. He says, really? Yeah? And what they'll do, they'll just run the computers backwards and forwards, and boom, there we go, as if we had signed it on that first day. He says, that's great. So basically then what happened was that I made my first purchase in January, and then in February, and now here it is March. And so let's see, that takes me out. So I've got until April of next year? No. Because if we backdate it, then what's going to happen is that we're going to start counting from here, and we're going to go out, and this will still be 13 months. Okay? That's a letter of intent. Now, the thing about a letter of intent is that something could happen. I mean, heaven forbid, the guy could be in a car wreck, okay? Have huge medical bills. I don't know. Okay. What happens if he doesn't satisfy the letter of intent? Well, it's not the end of the world, all right? All we do is that we just run it backwards and forwards as if he didn't sign. Or here's one. Let's say that there's a break point at 50 and a break point at 100. And he's bringing in $8,000. That's going to get him over the 100,000. Well, he brings in 80,000, but he just can't make that next 20. What do? We ask him first if he would like to. If he wants to, he can satisfy it, We're going to give him a little bit of notice. But probably the reason he hasn't is because he can't. So that's kind of an exercise in futility. What we'll do is we say, look, if you want to leave those prices intact, this much is the unearned discount that we've given you. You can just write us a check for that. But, you know what? We understand. You may not have that money because if you did, you would have satisfied it. So therefore, if that's going to put you in a crunch, what we can do is that we have actually held some shares over here in escrow. Okay, and we'll just reach inside this box and we'll pull out those shares and we'll sell enough of those shares to pay for the unearned discount. Now, we said that this guy, there's 50 and 100. Okay? There's 0, 50, and 100. He signed it for here, but what he did was that he got it up to 80. He earned that $50,000 break point, right? Oh, yeah. So there's no penalty on this thing. We're going to give him the $50,000 break point. We're just going to sell enough escrowed shares to cover on what he bought that discount that, like I say, that he didn't really earn. Okay? So 13 months comes and, oh, by the way, this thing, and man, I'm glad that I put money into this thing, because now, I put in 80, but then the darn thing has actually grown to 102. Have I satisfied my letter of intent? No, because what is my intention? To purchase. Now, yeah, it's my desire that it grows, but my intention is to purchase. So if it grows, that's cool, but it doesn't satisfy my letter of intent. Okay? And the last thing about letters of intent, can you combine a letter of intent with rights of accumulation? Let's go back to Billy's example, okay? What happened to him? There we go. It took him a long time, but he finally got up to the 50,000. And now he's bringing in 5,000 a month. Okay? And what's that going to do to him in 13 months? It's going to put him right there. Okay? Where starting from that, what we say, 49.4, something like that. Okay, and you tack on another 65 on top of it over a 13-month period, man, he's well over the 100,000 mark. So yes, you can combine rights of accumulation and letters of intent. Okay? No problem at all on that. All right, so let's see, have we covered everything here? New money purchases only, that's very important. The backdating is important, but it doesn't change the fact that from whatever day you say you started it, you've got 13 months from that day. If it's backdated, it's 13 months from the backdated date. Let's see. Yeah, pretty well covers that. So sales charge is going to be the public offering price minus the NAV. That's something that we saw earlier, that when we drew it out kind of in a box, that the whole public offering price looks like this. Oops. There we go. And this is the public offering price. So public offering price equals NAV plus sales charge. Sales charge equals public offering price minus NAV. NAV, public offering price minus sales charge. It's a simple little drawing, but it really helps to keep things structured for you and sorted out. Remember that the sales charge percentage, look at these. There's a little number, a medium number, and a big number. You take the little number and put it over the big number. Always. Okay? It's always expressed as a percentage of the public offering price. So little number over big number. So let's see on page 19, sales charge, pop minus NAV. Over on the top of page 20, sales charge percentage right here. The public offering price at a break point. There's the formula for it, okay? But I really don't want you to use that formula because this is one of the other cases where I want you to solve for the number that's in the question. So solve for the question. And in fact, even more so than the taxable equivalent yield, you're much more likely to avoid a wrong answer if you do this than whatever, if you solve for the answer. All right? So basically what we're going to do, let's say that this thing starts out with a, we'll just take the maximum sales charge, even though you don't see that much anymore. Okay, it's 8.5% from 0 to X number of dollars. All right, the guy puts in a big purchase. Okay, so what does he put in? 250,000. Okay, you guys help me out. What's his sales charge at 250,000? 4 maybe? Let's say it's 4. Okay, so at 250,000, they'll have to give you a schedule or tell you what it is. Okay, you can't just, I don't know, I think we can do that in class, but it doesn't work in the test. Okay, so at 250,000 goes down to 4%. So what does the guy pay? You can go through all the gyrations of that, but let's now look at this little box diagram, okay? We know that it's a percentage of the sales charge, right? Excuse me, the percentage of the public offering price, the sales charge is. So if we've got a 4% sales charge, it's 4% of this whole thing. That being the case, it's real simple. There's 4, there's 96. Man, this is higher math, isn't it? You only got 4 possible answers, A, B, C, and D. So what do? You take 0.96 times A, 0.96 times B, C, and D, and one of them is going to be right on the nose with the question up here that says NAV equals X number of dollars. That's the one you pick. Now, the reason I say that is, but on the taxable equivalent yield, your answer choices are going to be all over the board and scattered out pretty widely. On this, one of them's going to be like 3 cents from the other. You can't estimate on this, and if you do, you're going to do it wrong, because it's so just like I say. That's what you've got. You've got 4% sales charge. Well, the NAV is 96% of the whole thing. So take 96% of A, B, C, and D. One of them is going to hit it on the nose. Guess which one you pick? That one. If you get one that's 2 or 3 cents off, say, man. That's that sucker punch that Dan warned me about. Okay? Yeah. So solve for the question, because the NAV is going to be in your question. If it's in the question, I'll guarantee you it's right. Okay? Do it that way. You'll get the right answer. Okay, so let's go ahead and there's that. No discounts are allowed other than those specified in the prospectus. So basically, what's specified in the prospectus? Quantity discounts. You, as a registered rep who works for a firm that has a selling agreement with the fund, you can probably buy their fund shares at net asset value. But it's specified in the prospectus. Okay? Member to member. Okay? We're going to see that those transactions can go on at a discount, because discounts are how we get paid. We'll see that in a little bit, okay? But basically, that's it. That's it. You can't make any sweetheart deals. You can't go around the back door. In fact, when we get there is a line in the outline that's like, huh? Why do we have that? That broker-dealer firms can't buy for their own trading inventory to resell to customers. They can't do that, because what would they do? They'd buy this much, and then they'd sell it out in this chunk. They'd pay no sales charge at all, because they'd buy enough to buy it at NAV. Okay, but then they'd get the maximum sales charge to the little guys. It's cheating the sponsor. You can't do that. So like I say, no discounts other than what's specified in the prospectus. Then breakpoint sales. Breakpoint sales are going to be prohibited. That's inducing a customer to purchase just below the breakpoint. Why? So you can cheat him into paying higher sales charge and you can get more commission. That's why. Man, I tell you what, customer comes in and says, you know, Dan, I have just short of a large round number. Well, have you heard about a letter of intent? I mean, make sure you pursue all those paths. Because I got $96,000. That's real close to $100,000. That's a large round number. There's a break point there. That's why they write that question that way. You present him that, can you come up with $4,000 over a 13-month period? It's non-punitive. You're no worse off if you can't. But if you can, let me just show you how much money you'll save. Okay? That's the prudent thing to do with your customer's best interest at heart. So to fail to do so is a breakpoint sale. Now, let me ask you this, okay? It's inducing a customer to purchase just below the breakpoint. What happens if that customer purchases above the breakpoint? They got the breakpoint. You've done your customer good. What happens if they purchase at the breakpoint? They got the breakpoint. You say, can you get me $4,000 extra over 13 months? Is for that 13 months, I can write you a check for it today. Boom, done deal. So there are only three choices: above, at, or below. If you're above or at, you get the breakpoint. So guess what's the prohibited practice? Inducing them to cheat themselves below the breakpoint. That's a breakpoint sale. And then selling dividends is prohibited. That's inducing a purchase just before the ex-dividend date, just before it pays, okay, and basically selling it on the basis of benefit that does not exist. Okay, now, sometimes if you have some trouble on figuring out some concepts, one good way to really get a clear picture is to exaggerate. Okay, so let's have a guy come in and buy $100,000 worth of a fund that is getting, it's $10 a share, and they're getting ready to pay a $9 dividend. You call him up, say, this thing's getting ready to pay a $9 dividend on a $10 share. You gotta be there. And this thing is huge, okay? So he says, okay, great. So he puts it in there. Now, if the guy had wanted the income, he would have just kept his cash. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take that, and here we go. Here's $90,000 coming out, and then we just take it right back in and plug it in the back door. So this plus $90,000, oh, wait a minute, wait. What did we say earlier? With dividends, you expect a reduction in price. Yeah, this is reduced by the amount of the distribution. So it goes down to $10,000 plus $90,000 equals, he's right where he was to start with. If it were just this, you'd be kind of a snake in the grass, okay? But it's not just this, because here's the full picture. Even though it goes straight out and back in the back door, the IRS says, no, it didn't. It touched his fingerprint. And that fingerprint on those dollar bills made that a taxable event. Now, at one time, and thank goodness these times are gone, we had a 70% marginal tax rate. You just generated a tax bill for your customer of $63,000 with zero benefit. Now again, it's an exaggeration, but is it clear why selling dividends is prohibited? If not, we need to talk, okay? Yeah, that's why you can't do it. So it's better what? To wait until it distributes it out and get the leverage from getting more shares at the lower price. That's what's better to do. You don't just avoid that taxable event altogether. But my guy sets up a monthly investment plan. Cool, that's fine. You can't cover all contingencies. What did you induce him to do? To set up a monthly plan, not to buy just before the dividend pays. Okay? And then all purchases must be fully paid, as the shares have no margin value for 30 days. We talked about this before, so we'll just recap it again, and there it is. And this looks like kind of a natural breaking point here, so let's go ahead then and wrap up this video at this point, and we'll come back, pick it up from there on the next one.